beautiful people. Welcome back. So, as you could tell, we are going to do a recap and a review of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 3, Episode 4, Bad Weather Betrayal. So, as you remember in the last episode, we left off where the ladies were having their pajama party that Jennifer put together, and towards the end of it, we had Whitney and Heather get into it because Whitney is telling Heather that she knew about the rumor that was put out there about Lisa giving blowies for basketball seats. So Heather is telling Whitney, no, I didn't know about the rumor. So therefore, and then Whitney saying, you're lying. So, okay, Whitney gets very upset. And of course, she's drunk at this point. Heather tries to get away from her. She goes into her room for a little bit then, but she came back to the table and she confronts Whitney, who was sitting there with Meredith. And she's like, maybe you're too drunk at this point to get through this, but I don't appreciate you calling me a liar. Whitney doubles down and she's like, I know you know what I'm talking about. Don't try to make me out to be a liar because I did tell you about the situation. Further down in the episode, when the ladies go to dinner, Heather kind of admit knowing or whatever. She's like, if you gave me some information and I choose not to repeat it in order to back you up, because me repeating the information would have hurt somebody else, then that's my choice. So now it leads me to think that, yes, she did know the information, like she just decided to keep it close to her heart. Like I said, in this franchise, Heather is the peacemaker. She's the one who wants to make everybody happy, let everybody have fun. So most of the time when she gets the information, she just keeps it to herself. You never hear Heather out there putting anything out about anybody. So in that moment where Whitney needed Heather to back her up, to say, yes, it's true, I heard it, so she could, get on Lisa, Heather decided not to back her up, so she's pissed off at this point. All right, so the ladies, they decide that, okay, Lisa says, you know what, I think I'm going to go to bed. And I'm thinking that was the end of the night. But no. Here comes Jen on her little megaphone announcing somebody, which happens to be her makeup assistant, who is also a twerking instructor. So she comes in now and she's giving the ladies twerking lessons. Poor Meredith looked so stiff. I mean, the other ladies did well and they had fun. That was the overall, feel of it. They wanted to have fun. They didn't want to end the night early. So they stayed up having twerking lessons and just having a fun time. They were trying. The whole mood of this episode was kind of somber. But they were trying to get their fun in at some points. And this was one of the fun points. Now we see the next morning, we have Heather waking up in her bed and she has milk duds sprinkled all around her. I'm like, how the heck all those milk duds got out of the box, Heather? So apparently they went to bed drunk. Then Heather, we see her walking around the room picking up little pieces of a note. So it so happened that the nice note that Whitney wrote to Heather the night before when they gave their gift bags or whatever, Whitney got up during the night and decided that, no, I don't want to tell her that, she's one of the best people I know and she's my friend or whatever. Whitney got up and went to Heather's room, got the note, ripped it up and threw it on the floor. So now we see Heather picking up the bits and pieces of notes and putting it back together. So with that now, Heather goes out to see who's up. She sees Meredith on the patio having coffee. She joins her. And she's telling her what Whitney did to the note. She's also telling Meredith that, listen, this girl calling me a liar, it doesn't make me feel good at all. Because I really didn't know what she's talking about. So Meredith tells her, listen, in this moment, Whitney feels that you're not hearing her. With everything that's happening, Whitney feels like you're not hearing her. So she just wants you to hear her. But to Heather's point, she's like, this trip is supposed to be for Jen. She is facing up to 50 years in prison. She needs to leave from this trip to go to New York to go see her attorney regarding the trial that's coming up. And Whitney is trying to make the trip about her. So of course Meredith listened to her. You know how Meredith makes the face and then shrugs the shoulder, and she tries to give good advice as much as she can in the moment. But Heather was just like, you know what, I'm not even into this right now, because this trip is really supposed to be for Jen. All right, so now we see the other ladies wake up now. It's afternoon, of course. And no, before that, we see Whitney gets ready she's leaving to go meet up with her siblings, with her half sibling, she says. So she has an older brother and sister, and who is, by her father, not her mom. So that's another reason why she came to Arizona, because she wanted to see them, being that she's going through this journey of trying to remember what happened to her as a kid. So she goes to see them, they're reminiscing and stuff. She's letting us know that throughout her childhood, she probably only saw them a handful of times, because her father, when he remarried and married her mom, and, they came about, he focused all his attention on Whitney and her siblings, and she didn't really get to see those siblings. So from the gist of the conversation that they had, I'm assuming, because she said we both kind of share the same trauma, and it's coming from a person who is supposed to make us feel protected. So from that, I could tell that it was her father that traumatized her and the other siblings. So I'm not sure, maybe because we all know that Whitney's father was struggling with substance abuse. So I'm not sure exactly what type of abuse they're still talking about. She was kind of vague about it. I guess we're supposed to fill in the gaps, but I don't want to fill in the gaps. I want to hear you say, what did your father do to you, and what did he do to your older siblings? So her brother gave her some good advice, and her sister as well. They said, you're never going to forget. You're never going to forget what happened to you. But what you can do is look for the good moments, or look for the good points of the relationship that you had, and let that come to the forefront and try to shadow or overshadow anything bad that happens. He said, that's how I deal with it. And I realized that with me dealing with it like this, then I'm able to go on. So they hugged and, just said they would be there for each other. And that was the visit with her siblings. So now when she gets back to the house, the other ladies are up now. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And they're having breakfast. So breakfast for lunch we're having. Heather made a nice breakfast for everyone. And they were just sitting at the table talking. They're talking to Jen about what's coming up. They asked Jen, how are you feeling regarding this? And she's like, honestly, I'm scared. And Heather asked Jen, so when you feel scared, what do you do to try to make yourself feel better? So Jen says what she does, she goes into her youngest son's room, and she just will lay there with him and just be, and that would make her feel better. She tells them the process that she's heading to New York for. She's about to go through a mock trial, and last time they did a mock trial, they did the prosecutor side. So now when they're doing this mock trial, it's going to be the defense side. So she said the last time she went, she got so upset that she walked out of the room twice, which is something you're not going to be able to do at the real trial. Of course, you know that. And then she said the lead attorney told her to stop getting Botox because we need to see the expression on your face. She said she was crying at one point and the tears were running down her face, but her face wasn't moving. So the lead attorney tell her, I need you to stop getting Botox so that your face could be more relaxed. So when you do go through trial and the jury or the judge is looking at you, depending on what type of trial you're going to go through, then, they need to see your emotions. So the ladies found that to be a little bit funny. She needed to leave within the hour or so, and she still wasn't packed. So all the ladies went back to her room to go help her pack up everything and get her in the car and off to the airport. Now, the good thing that came out of that, they all hugged each other, before she left. But after Jen left, we see Meredith and Lisa hugging. And I found that was a tearjerker for me. That means they're finally getting to a point where they could actually talk or whatever. So we also see like I said, Meredith and Lisa hugging, and then we see the other three ladies hugging. So that was nice to see. Now the ladies decide that they're going to dinner. So a couple hours later now, they're going to dinner, and they're going to this restaurant that Whitney chose. While at the restaurant, Meredith lets us know that she used to live in Arizona for a year, which brought back memories. So that shed a tear for her. She said they needed to move there because of her sister had chronic bronchitis, and they needed the dry heat to help her. So they moved to that state for a little while to help the sister out. And then she had fond memories of a restaurant they used to go to with her dad, and her dad recently passed away, so that's why she was crying. She said the type of restaurant, if you wear a tie, come to the restaurant, they would actually cut it off because it's supposed to be, a relaxed environment. So where you going with a suit and tie? So she found that to be funny, and she used to make sure her dad wore a tie all the time because she wanted to see them cut the tie from his neck. They were sitting at the table. You could still tell there was some tension in the air with all the ladies. So Heather excused herself to go to the bathroom. The ladies asked Whitney, so how are you feeling regarding what happened with Heather last night? And Whitney's like, I still don't feel good about it. She's like, we need to talk about it. We need to get through this. And I need to talk to her because I didn't like the way she made me feel. So, of course, now Heather gets back to the table, and one of the ladies said, well, Heather is back. And Heather's like, so what did I miss? What's going on? So then Whitney was kind of hee-haw. She didn't want to put it out on the table. So Meredith kind of pushed her. She's like, we need to get this out on the table if this is what you want to do. So Whitney comes out, and she's telling her, she said, you knew about this situation with Lisa. So Heather kept saying, so you want me to actually come to Lisa and said, yes, I heard a rumor that you were giving blowies for basketball seat. And Lisa was like, can we stop saying that? Can we stop saying that because it's not true and it's hurtful? And then Heather was like, exactly, to my point. It's a mean thing to say about someone. So, of course, I don't want to bring that out there. If you give me some information that I choose to hold to my heart and not use it, then that's on me. You can't tell me when to use it. And that's when you want me to back you up in whatever you have to say. So that's where I got the gist that, yes, Heather did know what happened, but she just chose not to help Whitney out as far as getting the rumor out there. Then Heather was like, listen, this weekend, as I've told you before, is supposed to be for Jen, and for somehow you made it about you. And Whitney was like, how is that? She's like, well, last night at dinner, when you were talking about the situation that happened to you when you were younger, you made that whole dinner about you. We didn't even get to really talk to Jen about what was going on with her because of you bringing up everything that's happening to you. Now, to my surprise, Lisa goes in the confessional, and she's like, even after Whitney has done this to her, to my surprise, Lisa goes in the confessional, and she's like, well, we need to find that sensitive chip and put it back into Jen because at this moment she's not being sensitive to Whitney's concern, and that's not good. So I'm like, okay, Lisa, okay, I see. You're trying to make sure you're nice for everybody, but at the same time, Whitney just put this out on the table about you. But I think what made it okay for Lisa to actually say those nice things about Whitney is that Whitney is not the one who put the rumor out there. According to Whitney, she got it from Angie. And that's why we need Angie to come to the front. We need to hear from Angie as far as what's happening, because this is not going to go away until, it's discussed. So, of course, at one point, Heather was like, you know what? This makes no sense. We're supposed to have at least one light evening. No, it wasn't Heather who said it. It was Meredith. She's like, we're leaving tomorrow. Can we at least have one light evening? So then Whitney goes in the confessional, and she's like, at this point, this conversation is unproductive. It's not productive. Unproductible. What a word. This conversation is not productive, so therefore, you know what? I'm going to just drop it and leave it, and then we'll pick it up another time. But we will be getting back to it and discussing it. So the ladies had a nice dinner. You could tell they were hungry. Maybe that's why they were so cranky, because the way they were tearing up that food, you could tell that they were hungry. So the ladies had a nice dinner, and that was it for them. Now the last scene of the episode, we have a pajama party. But like I said, it seems like every lady planned an event. So we had Jen with the lingerie party. We had Lisa planning the rodeo. We had Whitney just planning the entire trip overall. I'm not sure, what did Heather plan in this trip. I didn't think she had any events in this trip, but she did cook for the ladies. So that was cool. So now the last event of the evening, we have Meredith's pajama parties, and she brought gifts for the ladies. And one of the gifts was a hat that had not the letters FBI, but she had the word EF for F. You pronounce that F. She had a picture of a B and then an I looking out. So that was printed across the hat. So now production takes us back to the clip where they were talking about how Jen was being investigated, and how Meredith was hiring a private agent and all of that. And she's like, if you think I have the power to influence the FBI, then y'all got it wrong. So that was a play on that scene from last season. So then they get to talk real seriously about what's going on with Jen. And being that Meredith went to law school, she was able to shed some light on what was going on for Jen. So she let the ladies know that I believe somebody asked about Stuart. Did they think that Stuart, who was Jen's assistant, if they think he flipped or he gave more information. So she explains that when you're dealing with the federal government, if you want a deal, you have to give us something bigger. So more than likely, Stuart, who pled guilty and took a plea deal, gave them a lot of information that they wanted. And usually when you give information, it's for them to get to somebody higher, which is a bigger fish. So according to Heather asked, so do you think that Jen is the big fish? Or one of them asked, I forget who asked. And Meredith kind of shrugged her shoulders after say, I don't know. So she was like, from the charges that I hear that are looming over her, I'm surprised that Jen is actually going to trial, because the conviction rate in the New York court is 98%. So more than likely, with Jen go to trial, she's going to get a longer sentence. She's going to get a longer term than if she pleads, than if she takes a plea deal. So as we know, as of taping for that show, Jen was, planning on going to trial. And on the date where she actually appeared in court, we found out that she took a plea deal. So at this moment now, we're waiting to hear her sentence. I believe her sentence was postponed. It was supposed to be sometime here in October, and I think it was pushed back to November. So we still don't know how long Jen is going to be sentenced for, or how long she's going away for. But you could tell the ladies were really concerned for Jen, because you just saw the whole mood in the room change. One minute they were laughing when they got the gift from Meredith, and then with the discussion, we see that the mood changed. And it would, of course, because it's a serious charge that she's facing. But you know what? At the same time, if her actions, did hurt these people or all these people, then you got to face the consequences. As you say, you do the crime, you got to do the time, baby. If you don't want to go to jail, then you keep your nose clean and you live a good life. Or in just general, just live a good life, and, you'll be okay. If you got to work hard for your money, then that's what you do. And if it's not meant for you, it's not meant for you. Just live, but don't take advantage of people. No, that's not what you do. People work hard for their money, and then you turn around and then you swindle it from them. You take advantage of senior citizens and stuff like that. No, that's not right. They work their whole life to actually build a nest egg so they could enjoy their retirement, and based on your actions, now they got to go back into the workforce and stuff like that. That's not cool at all. So like I said, if Jen and her crew did the crime, I'm sorry, Jen. You're cool and all, you're fun and all, but you got to do the time, boo. Anyway, guys, so that was the gist of this whole episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 3, Episode 4, Bad Weather Betrayal. So until next time, guys, be sure to subscribe, download this if you're listening to the podcast, Reality TV Space with Georgia Denise. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like this video. And as I always say, until next time, be sure to take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.